All right, let's jump right in. Today's AI landscape isn't just a buzzword or one single thing. It's this incredibly complex, fast-moving global story. It's happening everywhere.
Absolutely. It's like a symphony, really. You look at the reports from just the last week or so,
Yeah.
and you see all this activity across Europe, Asia, the US, the Middle East. It's not one single picture at all.
Exactly. And that's why we've pulled together this deep dive specifically for you, kind of sifting through recent articles and research to, well, cut through the noise.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at national strategies, huge investment plans,
Yeah.
chip deals, regulatory battles, and, yeah, some pretty stark real-world deployments, too.
Yeah, our mission today is basically to zero in on the really significant developments you need to know about right now, like as of June 16th, 2025.
Okay.
We're going to explore the race for compute power, that tricky dance of regulation, some truly unexpected AI applications, and the big geopolitical currents shaping, who leads and how AI gets used.
Consider us your guides through this stack of sources, then. So, where do we start unpacking this global picture? Where do we kick off?
Let's start with Europe. I think the big theme there is this really intense drive for what they're calling sovereign AI.
Sovereign AI. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the idea of building their own AI capabilities, their own infrastructure right there on European soil, trying to, reduce dependence on U.S. tech giants mostly.
Makes sense. And who's playing a central role in that build-out, according to these reports we looked at? Seems like one name kept popping up.
Nvidia, they are everywhere. Jensen Huang's been touring capitals, London, Paris, Berlin. It's a pretty clear sign of where the foundational pieces, the hardware, are coming from.
Yeah, and you see specific examples, like the partnership in France with Mistral AI. That's Europe's big AI startup, right? They're deploying 18,000 Nvidia systems.
That's right, 18,000 Grace Blackwell systems. And that platform, Grace Blackwell, it's essentially NVIDIA's latest superchip. It's designed for massive scale AI training and inference, running the models once they're built. So putting 18,000 of those systems in with Mistral, that's a huge commitment. It's about building a pan-European cloud, really designed for complex, maybe agentic AI applications, getting that raw computing muscle locally.
Right, local muscle. And it's not just France, is it? The sources mentioned Germany, too.
Yeah.
NVIDIA working with Deutsche Telekom on what they're calling the world's first industrial AI cloud.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean in practice?
Well, think precision engineering manufacturing. They talk about an AI factory. It would use AI for really advanced simulations, creating detailed digital twins of, say, physical processes or products.
Okay. Digital twins.
Yeah. So you can get incredible optimization, predictive maintenance, do complex design work without needing, endless physical prototypes. It could really transform sectors like automotive or heavy machinery.
And down in Italy, similar story.
Yep. Collaboration there with Damen used to be iGenius, an Italian AI company, to bring NVIDIA chips into Italy's national supercomputing platform, Colosseum it's called. Again, integrating that high-end compute power right into national infrastructure.
So there's definitely a pattern. Governments, major corporations making these strategic bets on specific hardware to fuel their national AI dreams. And the political backing seems really strong.
Oh, absolutely. You've got UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announcing a huge, $135 billion investment plan, about 100 billion pounds, focused on AI infrastructure.
Wow.
French President Macron at Vivatech, he was very blunt, called AI infrastructure a sovereignty battle. And in Germany, Chancellor Merz stressing digital sovereignty as just essential for their economy's future.
So the goal is pretty explicit then. Rely less on U.S. tech giants, build up their own European AI and cloud players. But building the tech is only half of it, isn't it? There's the whole regulatory side.
Exactly. And Europe is really grappling with this. The EU AI Act, their big framework for regulating AI based on risk, it's only been enforced for about a year. Mm-hmm. But now with the new European Parliament and a lot of industry lobbying, there's already talk of a rethink.
A rethink already? That sounds messy. What's the core tension there?
Well, industry is worried that constant changes, uncertainty in the rules, will scare off the investment they need for that sovereign AI push we just talked about.
Right.
But then safety advocates are pushing back, saying, hold on, don't relax the rules too much. It could compromise safety, ethics. It's a really delicate balance, high stakes.
And we're already seeing the real-world effects of this regulatory pressure, aren't we? Spain, for instance, brought in stricter rules, like mandatory labels for AI content. Some sources just startups are getting hesitant there.
Yeah, and Apple apparently delayed some of its new AI-powered Siri features in the EU, specifically cited compliance pressures from the Digital Markets Act.
So it shows how hard it is to get that regulation right. How do you protect people but not kill the innovation you're trying to encourage?
That's the million-dollar question, or maybe billion-euro question here.
Right. But it's not all challenges. There are signs of innovation pushing through. Mistral, that French company, again, they just released Europe's first AI inference model.
Yeah, this is noteworthy. They're emphasizing a technique called chain of thought. So instead of just spitting out an answer, the AI generates intermediate steps, showing its reasoning.
Ah, okay. Like showing its work.
Exactly. It's designed to improve logical reasoning and transparency, which is pretty crucial for complex tasks. And it's partly open source, got strong political backing from Macron.
Now, Mistral's often called Europe's AI star, but the sources we looked at are pretty clear. They're still way behind the US and Chinese giants in market share funding.
That's true.
So this new model seems like a direct attempt to carve out a niche, try and close that gap a bit.
Absolutely. And the EU is putting serious money behind these ambitions, too, with the Gen AI for EU flagship program. Initial funding's already over 700 million euros.
Okay, 700 million. What sectors are they targeting with that?
Strategic areas: biomedicine, manufacturing, robotics, health, energy, agriculture, aerospace. The goals are pretty ambitious, and you get more EU companies actually using AI. The adoption rate is currently quite low, like 13.5%.
No, yeah.
Foster open innovation, get researchers, startups, big companies working together, and ultimately just boost Europe's competitiveness globally.
And it's not just competition within Europe, right? There's cooperation too, like the UK and EU signing an agreement to share supercomputing resources.
And the UK's AI Factory Antenna project is linking up with top EU compute facilities. Plus, the UK is planning new AI growth zones this summer. Sharing compute makes a lot of sense given the huge cost and energy involved.
Ah, yes, the challenges. Beyond the regulatory dance, what are the big hurdles for Europe's AI push that came up in the sources?
A really significant one is the electricity bottleneck. Data centers are just incredibly power hungry.
Yeah.
They already use about 3% of the EU's total electricity, and that's expected to grow potentially a lot. Plus, electricity prices are high in Europe, supply grids are under pressure. It's a major constraint on building all this new infrastructure.
Right. All that fancy compute needs serious juice, and Europe's energy situation makes that particularly tough.
Exactly, and some experts cited argue that just throwing money at infrastructure isn't the whole answer. Europe needs deeper reforms to legal frameworks, regulatory consistency, really fostering a dynamic startup scene to be a true AI power, not just a big customer.
Okay, so if you had to sum up the European picture right now, just a few keywords.
I'd say sovereignty, compute, regulation, targeted innovation, cooperation, and definitely grappling with the electricity bill to power it all.
That paints a clear picture.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot. Let's head east to Asia. The AI race there seems to have its own distinct flavors across places like China, Japan, and Korea.
Yeah, Asia's fascinating because it's not one monolithic strategy like Europe is trying for. You've got really different approaches, different strengths.
Okay, let's start with China. The sources often describe their path as overtaking on the curve. Companies like DeepSeek are mentioned for releasing these large models that are open, transparent, often free.
Yeah, and what's really striking about China's approach is how fast AI is getting integrated into government and public services. Your sources mentioned widespread use of, get this, government digital employees.
Digital employees,
Yeah.
like AI civil servants.
Pretty much. Places like Shenzhen apparently have AI robots handling citizen queries, even drafting documents. It's a level of digital transformation many places are still just talking about.
That really underscores how China's building this distinct AI ecosystem. It's seen as a real challenge to the US and European models.
And a recent report on their local government digitalization reinforces that. It highlights continuous data-driven innovation, standardization, building these provincial data hubs. It's a very coordinated top-down push.
You can feel the buzz, too. Things like the Explore Heart 30 Awards from Xinjiang News and Weibo, recognizing innovative AI companies and products. A real focus on internal development.
And it connects to their manufacturing strength.
No.
Provinces like Henan, known for coal and steel, they're pushing intelligent transformation, using AI in smart mines, factories, even unmanned casting for efficiency and safety.
And on the investment side in China, what's hot?
A-shares related to the AI supply chain seem to be getting a lot of attention. Chips, AI phones, agents, smart driving, multimodal AI and agents are seen as potentially transforming their media and internet sectors.
Okay, let's shift to Japan. Seems like a mix there. Creative business uses, but also wrestling with information challenges.
Definitely. That DNP Persona Insight service launching soon is a great example of the creative side. A printing company using generative AI plus Japanese statistics to create 100 virtual consumer personas.
Yeah, so companies can basically interview these AI consumers instead of running costly surveys. That's pretty clever.
It is, though the sources wisely caution about privacy if you're using general tools like ChatGPT for sensitive internal data.
Good point. Hardware competition is heating up in Japan too, right? AMD's making a play.
Yeah, AMD announced new chips, the MI350X and MI355X. They're claiming similar performance to Nvidia, but cheaper, explicitly trying to grab market share there.
And there's a push to help smaller businesses too.
Mm-hmm. NTT Communications and Supernova launching Stella AI for Biz. It's about offering customized generative AI to help SMEs with digital transformation, trying to broaden adoption beyond the big guys.
Japan also just passed a new AI law, setting up an AI strategy HQ. What's the balancing act they're trying for there?
It sounds like the familiar challenge, fostering innovation while preventing risks. And that tension is really relevant given some recent events.
Ah, right. This brings us to the information battle. The sources mentioned that fake AI earthquake prediction incident from earlier this year.
Yeah, that caused quite a stir. And an Imperva report found something pretty startling. 37% of Japanese online content is now AI generated.
47%. Wow.
Yeah, and a rise in malicious bots alongside that. So you're hearing calls from educators and experts for better information literacy training and for strong official fact-checking systems.
That's a huge chunk of the information landscape to navigate. Really shows the societal side effects of generative AI.
But on the application front, there's positive news too. A U.S. AI company is partnering with Japanese firms to launch medical AI agents this year, trying to help with the nurse shortage. Apparently, these systems already serve millions globally.
And of course, the global giants are always present. OpenAI's Altman making predictions, Apple's WWDC updates. But similar to the EU, sounds like AI steering is delayed in Japan too until 2026.
It seems that way. Compliance and localization likely playing a role.
Okay, finally, Korea. The focus there seems to be infrastructure and, wait for it, sovereign AI again.
That theme just keeps coming back. Yes, big news out of Korea is that SK Group and AWS partnership. They're building what's billed as Korea's largest AI data center in Ulsan. Groundbreaking is set for August.
How big are we talking?
Huge. Planning for 60,000 GPUs, 100 megawatt power capacity. It's a massive push to boost Korea's domestic AI infrastructure.
And the government's pushing this Korean-style AI idea.
Exactly. Promoting local industry. The analysis suggests that while Korea might lag the US and China in core chip design or foundational cloud platforms, they see a chance to overtake on the curve by really focusing on AI applications and localization.
Ah, so become masters of using AI effectively in their economy, rather than just building the base tech.
Precisely. Acknowledging the US-China lead in design and data centers, but focusing on the application layer. They do mention local chip companies like Furiosa AI and Rebellion and domestic models from Naver and LG, but the strategic thrust seems to be application dominance.
Got it. So, summing up Asia. China's unique GovTech integration and open source push, Japan's creative apps mixed with InfoWars, and Korea going big on infrastructure but focusing strategically on the application layer for their sovereign AI goals. It's a really diverse picture. A truly dynamic region in this global race.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift gears again. Let's look at the U.S., still a massive market force, and then turn to a very critical and frankly sobering development in Israel.
Right. The U.S. continues to drive a lot of the market trends and tech frontiers, but we're also seeing new kinds of connections and challenges emerging.
Like OpenAI, one of the top U.S. AI labs, right? They just secured a $200 million contract with the U.S. Department of Defense. What does that signal?
Well, it clearly deepens the ties between the cutting-edge AI R&D firms and the military sector. Shows a growing reliance on these advanced AI capabilities within defense strategy.
And speaking of big players, massive market moves. Meta just dropped $14.3 billion. But not for a whole company. They bought 49% of Scale AI.
That's right, nearly $15 billion for just under half. Scale AI is crucial. They provide data labeling and management services, absolutely essential for training AI models. And their founder, Alexander Wang, is reportedly joining Meta's superintelligence team.
Wow. That kind of money and integration, it definitely looks like Meta trying to catch up or accelerate its AI game. But doesn't that raise questions about, like, data neutrality? When a giant like Meta owns almost half of a key data provider for the whole ecosystem.
It's a really valid concern. Potential influence over data availability, standards, it's something people are watching. On a totally different note, AI is moving into some unexpected consumer spaces. Mattel, the toy giant, is partnering with OpenAI.
Yeah, for an AI-driven toy, including an AI Barbie planned for this year.
An AI Barbie, it's definitely a headline grabber.
What's the main focus or concern there, according to the sources?
Unsurprisingly, it's child privacy and safety. That's paramount, given the audience. But it just highlights how AI is touching literally every sector now.
And even these massive tech giants aren't immune to problems with the underlying infrastructure, right? Google Cloud had a big outage last week.
Yeah, apparently an issue during a quota system update. But this one outage hit over 70 Google Cloud services globally, and it even temporarily knocked out some third-party services that rely on Google Cloud, including some from OpenAI.
So one hiccup in the plumbing can cause ripples across many AI services worldwide. Really shows how interconnected, maybe even fragile, this rapidly built ecosystem can be.
Definitely highlights the dependencies. Yet, despite all the competition and wobbles, the global exchange of knowledge continues. The big Computer Vision Conference, CVPR 2025, is happening right now in Nashville.
And you've got companies from all over presenting.
Exactly. Chinese company OPPO is there, showing off their new AI phone, the Reno 14, presenting research papers they got accepted. It's like a microcosm of global competition and simultaneous knowledge sharing in the research community.
So it's not totally siloed, even with these regional strategies.
Not completely, no. The research world still connects.
Okay, so that covers the U.S. market power, military links, huge deals, AI Barbies, infrastructure issues. Now let's turn to that very serious development highlighted in your sources concerning Israel.
Right. While the current news is, of course, focused on the ongoing military conflict, a detailed New York Times report from a bit earlier provides insight into something specific and significant: the large-scale, rapid deployment of various AI technologies within Israel's recent military actions.
This is obviously a critical area, raising profound questions. The context given is this extensive testing and deployment of AI tools during conflict, which has, understandably, sparked widespread ethical concerns globally.
The report detailed several specific AI systems. One was called Lavender. It's described as a machine learning algorithm that analyzes huge amounts of intelligence data to quickly identify and predict individuals classified as low-level militants, potentially marking them as targets for airstrikes.
So AI analyzing data to flag potential targets. What other tools were mentioned?
There was AI used for face recognition and audio localization. Cameras, reportedly with AI face recognition, were used at temporary checkpoints in Gaza to scan Palestinians, and they tested AI analysis of audio, like phone calls, to try and locate targets.
And the report noted potential risks, right? Misidentification due to masks, data quality issues. That risk seems incredibly high in a conflict zone when you're talking about identification and targeting.
Extremely high. Another system described was an Arabic AI analysis model. This was developed by Unit 8200, that's an elite Israeli intelligence unit working with tech reservists.
Tech reservists, including people from major U.S. tech companies.
Yes, that's what the report indicated. People on reserve duty, but whose day jobs were at places like Google, Meta, Microsoft, reportedly contributed to developing and deploying these tools. This Arabic analysis model was trained on decades of data-intercepted communications, social media to understand dialects, assess public reactions to events, things like that, to support military decisions.
And AI was used in drones, too.
Precisely. Drones reportedly enhanced with AI algorithms for automatic locking and tracking of moving targets' vehicles. People with capabilities described as having lethal precision.
That close collaboration between the military and tech industry reservists, many from big U.S. firms, that's a really significant point from the report.
It certainly is, and it highlights that these developments represent a new and, for many, deeply concerning stage in how AI is applied in warfare. It's fueling intense debate about civilian casualties, data privacy in conflict zones, and the fundamental ethics of using autonomous or semi-autonomous AI systems in military ops.
That section really brings home the gravity and the stakes involved here.
Oh.
Okay. We've spanned the globe, Europe's sovereignty push, Asia's diverse strategies, U.S. market power, and the stark reality of military AI in the Middle East. Let's try and connect these threads. What does this whole global picture mean for you, our listener, trying to stay informed?
Well, when you step back and look across all these regions, a few big themes just jump out. First, as we saw everywhere from Europe's data centers to Korea's build-out, is this absolutely relentless global race for AI compute infrastructure. It's the new oil, the new electricity, the foundational layer everyone is scrambling for.
It's the digital arms race for processing power. And tied right into that is this strong push for AI sovereignty, whether it's Europe and Korea explicitly naming it or China building its own distinct ecosystem. It's a clear strategic pushback against relying too heavily on, well, mainly U.S. players.
Then there's that persistent struggle with regulation. Everyone's trying to figure it out how to be flexible enough for innovation, but also ensure safety, security, navigate the ethics. It's a moving target, and getting it wrong, as we saw with Spain or Apple in the EU, has real consequences.
And the sheer diversity of applications popping up is kind of mind-boggling. Streamlining government, optimizing factories, virtual market testers, AI toys, and then the really serious military deployments. AI is definitely not staying in the lab.
No, it's embedding itself everywhere. And despite these regional pushes, you still see the undeniable global influence of the U.S. tech giants. Their innovation, their market clout, even their personnel moving into sensitive roles. It shapes the whole landscape.
And finally, those critical challenges that kept surfacing. The huge cost, the massive energy demands that electricity bill, and the profound ethical questions, especially when AI meets warfare.
So for you, tracking these developments, it shows AI isn't just another tech trend. It's actively reshaping geopolitics, national economies, the regulatory environment, even the nature of conflict itself.
Absolutely. Understanding these global currents isn't just for tech nerds. It's crucial for anyone navigating the future of business, policy, international relations. And the speed is just, wow. Yesterday's understanding might already be out of date today.
It really demands continuous attention, continuous critical thinking.
It really does. So we've taken quite a tour through the global AI news based on your sources, from Europe's strategic sovereignty goals and Asia's varied innovations to U.S. market power and the sobering realities of military AI deployment we just covered.
It's a complex picture, isn't it? Ambition, innovation, competition, and some really significant challenges all woven together.
And as we've seen today, the lines are getting really blurry, aren't they? Between national strategy, corporate power, regulatory rules, even military applications. It kind of makes you wonder, in this accelerating global race, where do things like the pursuit of pure innovation, national interests, and fundamental ethics ultimately collide? Or maybe, where do they converge? Something to think about as you digest all this.